What do you see in terms of where's skiing going in terms of embracing sustainability and trying to make sure that, we do still enjoy the sport, but are very much aware of the changes that are going on around us?
I mean, essentially, I think it's make or break time. I think sustainability in winter sports is about us still being able to enjoy the mountains, but in a way that the impact of our decisions today won't affect the legacy of our sport going forward. And I'm quite torn with this because I've got 2 young sons. My 6-year-old son, I overheard him a few months ago tell someone that he wanted to be a ski racer like his mum and dad. And obviously, part of my heart swelled because I've had an incredible life in the sport, and the opportunities it's brought me in retirement and moving forward in my career have been amazing, and it's great that he's seen that. But the other side is, I don't know if elite level ski racing will be around for when Lockie is old enough to participate, unless we make some severe changes now. So it's kind of, I really feel I'm in a position now where, first of all, I'm far from perfect, but we're talking about purpose over perfection, which is really key, because there's a huge amount of guilt that goes with sustainability, and people, it seems like such a big mountain to climb that people don't take that first step because they're scared of being judged. So that's why I'm not afraid to say, look, I'm trying. I'm not perfect. I still take flights when I have to. I look at alternative transports when I can, but I'm really not perfect. But I'm trying to, from renting my ski clothes through our friend Rachel from Eco Ski, to this year I'm taking the first snow train that's back to the mountains.
Which they are starting to put more on, aren't they?
They are. So it's back after a few years where it hasn't been. On the 16th or 17th of December, I'm hosting that first snow train. I want to shout about it. The season isn't long enough.
Yeah, well done, yeah.
But I think if we get bums on seats, it will show that people care. To actually choosing the resorts where you go in terms of how sustainable are they being. I mean, there's resorts in Austria that are really trying to get that eco label attached to them, and they're doing everything they can. They're banning cars from the village. They're giving you €200 off if you come by train. I mean, they're really trying to shout out about everything. Did you know that all the snowmaking in Austria is all drinking water?
I didn't know that at all.
Absolutely pure drinking water. The technology and the data in snowmaking. I mean, I need to take you where I've just been.
I'd love to know more about that. Yeah,
because it's absolutely incredible. So the Peace Bashers, which they're now trying to make biofueled and half electric, it's not. This is all definitely the future of pisting our slopes. All have radars on going into the snow, so they match on the snow where the areas of lack of snow are, and they push the snow. So they get these kind of red areas and green areas, and they take the snow from the green areas to red areas, so they don't have to make too much snow. Because in the olden days, snowmaking had such a bad rep because you just saw these mounds being produced everywhere. Yeah. And actually, what Austria are doing is using renewable hydropower to sustain the kind of water cycle that goes through that snowmaking. But they're also massively reducing what they're having to snowmake, even though there's less snow, because they're using a huge amount of technology. And it's fascinating. It's really like when you're in there, you think you're just driving up and down, but there's lasers and radars and everything going down, kind of like when you're on a shipping boat to see the depth of the snow. So I think it's really important to ask more questions.
Yeah.
I go to a lot of the same resorts, a lot of the same hotels. And actually, even just saying to them now, what are you doing to be sustainable? Even if the answer this year is no, it makes them realise that people, consumers care. And then they start thinking about how they can do things differently too.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you. I think the issue is caring and actually doing something about it, because I think too often it's easy to say, it's too difficult, so let somebody else take the problem on. And I think we all have a responsibility to an ownership to our children as well, to actually make sure we are doing something.
And actually, positive. I think more people need to get to the mountains, because the massive, unavoidable, in-your-face piece of climate crisis is in the mountains.
Oh, I agree.
Vallée Blanche is
absolutely
disastrous.
Yeah.
And that's really sad for me that my sons might never ski it.
Well, the classic is in Wengen. I don't know whether you remember, but it was actually in Grindelwald, but there's a Victorian...
it used to be,
There's a, what do you call it, the actual ski cabin that was where the Victorians used to go up to look at the glacier, is now about 400 or 500 feet above the glacier, because the glacier's disappeared.
Yeah.
So if that isn't a good example of... global warming, I don't know what is.
Exactly.
So I think we all have to have a go at it, and I think that's the key thing. And we're doing it in our business as well. We're trying to make sure we are sustainable as possible. Everything we do, all the data, because that's obviously being fed through our platform Stratium, which you know well about. And everything we're doing as well in terms of accounting or accounting. We're one of the, I think, 20 using Sage accounting, sustainable accounting in the UK as a test bed.
So there's so much you can do that doesn't change your life. Like even which bank do you go with? How sustainable is that bank? There's forums and there's people taking the data from all the banks, and you can just put in there what's my bank doing? And some of them will come up, and even the brands. You know, I really like Converse trainers, and I always thought, that's probably not a sustainable brand. And there's these, the questions that you can ask, and actually this current process that they're doing is sustainable. And I was like, okay. So it's just about kind of changing your perception, but also don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to look into it. There's people out there collecting data all the time on this because it matters to everyone. I went to a BBC kind of green panel forum. And it was really interesting where they had 5 commissioners from all the 5 big TV stations, not just BBC. And they all basically said, we have to look at this in an eye of hope, because it's been such doom and gloom that it scares people off making change. Whereas if you think it's about educating people that there is hope out there, that actually some of the things they're doing right now aren't as bad as some of the other things. And it's just, re-educating, moulding your life through it.
Absolutely.
With sustainability, you have to lose your ego. Yes, you want to be the first, but then everyone needs to keep up so that we can keep our mountains alive. And I think the same with my business in the UK. It's called Carpe Diem Coaching, and it's what my husband runs, and it's incredibly successful, and we're full all the time. And I have people and friends, very successful friends, come in and say, do you not want to kind of lead in the UK and have your competitive peers who are doing the same kind of suppress them and get rid of them and them not being able to? And I'm like, no, the thing about skiing in the UK is all I want is more people to have accessibility to grassroots skiing and clubs. So actually, my interest is to stay small, to stay busy, to be as full as we can, but for every other club to flourish, because it means that more people are getting into sport. And at the end of the day, all of our aims are the same. We want people to love skiing, maybe love racing, maybe go to the Olympics, but it's not about that. It's about having the passion for snow sport. So although your ego wants you to be the biggest and the best, it's not actually the same in a sport that you're passionate about that is a kind of underdog sport for your country, because you just want more people to get into it. And that's why I'm very lucky to be on Ski Sunday and show people how amazing the sport is, whether you're learning or whether you're winning the Olympics.
It's like golf, though. Here I am, 64, and I'm still skiing. And still, as you say, get that fear going down steep slopes.
Great, very good.
And loving it. And actually, you are, although it's great fun to be with friends and we do things together, also you're still challenging yourself, which I think is important as well.
So that's why we started off as children's ski race coaching club.
Yeah.
And then I realised that there was a massive adult market out there of people who still wanted to push their limits and push their levels. So we started offering that, and it's incredibly successful. I mean, we have a waiting list for the year before. And it's because so many people value their time. I think post-pandemic, everyone wants to improve. The people in that bracket who are high achieving still want to be better at things.
Yeah.
And so you provide an environment where it's safe for people to charge, and people will come in, and it's great. And, I don't have enough time to do more of those, but I absolutely love them, because a lot of people have skied for 30, 40 years without a lesson. And then you say something to them and they get this like eureka moment of something different. And I'm a very feeling-based coach. And so with our coaching team, we've now got 6 of us, and we each bring a massively different skill. And I remember when Dougie and I set up, because we're both ex-ski racers, we thought, we need to employ just ex-ski racers. That's going to be our thing. But actually, if that's your background, actually you need someone there who's gone through the instructor level, who can really look at the foundation of skiing. And we've got a few of those. And we've got some recently retired athletes, which are great because they really still have their mindset. And actually some of them had big issues with fear, and they're so good at talking to the younger athletes about, I can see you're scared. It's totally fine. Yeah. Don't let it limit your ability like it limited mine, because that honesty and vulnerability is key to talk about in a trust environment.
I'm in the DHL Downhill Only Club, which I've been in for years, and we do some great stuff in there. And you probably know there's races every week. And lots of the feeders have gone into some of the stuff that you do as well. But have you heard about the Macmillan race, which is held every year in February? So it's a mass start. There's about
these
50
were
of
carnage.
They're crazy. It was actually amazing that actually not that many people do crash. There's the occasional crash. But I remember doing the course, and I did the course after I'd run the race, and I couldn't get anywhere near my time. So it goes to show that the racing and the adrenaline and everything makes a massive difference. Because we've all got that competitive side of us, haven't we? We want to do better.
And you've got to know, I think it's really important to say to people, because when we're talking about racing at speeds, when you and I do it and when we do it in a competitive environment, that environment is cordoned off. It's a private lane.
Yeah.
Because I really struggle when I see people, especially talking about data, skiing down with their apps and their phones in front of them because they're trying to beat their mate, because they're having this competition on who can ski the fastest, and it's incredibly dangerous to do that on a public piste. And actually last few years with less snow, it means the pistes have been less wide. That's and they had more icy. We've had a lot of more injuries because people are still trying to go way too fast. And there is a time and a place to go fast. If you want to do it, book onto a race training camp where you've got a private lane, or you do one of these competitions, because you shouldn't go that fast.
No.
Honestly, I don't ski. I mean, I can ski at 92 miles an hour is the fastest I've ever skied at. I don't.
You did try to get to 100 on Ski Sunday, didn't you? You were close.
Okay, so I did get to 100 a few years ago when we were doing a speed trap, but that was without turns, so I don't count it as skiing that fast, because in an environment where I was in a race, I've skied 92 miles an hour, but I did the flying K. And yes, but that was a really controlled environment. And they are set up, lots of these control environments are set up around the resort. So if you do want to go fast, just do it in an environment that can be safely monitored.
Because you've done the Kandahar as well, haven't you?
Yeah, I've done the Kandahar.
So do you want to explain to people that don't know what the Kandahar is?
Which one are you talking about?
Well, you've done it multiple times.
No, but there are different Kandahars around.
I was talking about the Kandahar in Murin.
Oh, you're talking about the Inferno run?
The Inferno one, that's the one I meant, yes.
So yes, I've only done the Inferno once. The Inferno is the longest, toughest, oldest downhill ski race in the world.
What the length of it is?
I can't remember, but normally if it's full length, the winner skis in about 15 minutes. When I did it was a shortened end, which was a shame, and I think it was about 9 minutes. But it was one of my first Ski Sunday gigs. And that was a really interesting one, actually, because I was going there to just race it, but I had to talk my way through it, so you're presenting it.
Then your competitive juices got in the way.
But it was the first big thing I'd done since becoming a mother. And I was really scared, and I was really interested to feel how different my fear was, because I was responsible for this tiny human being. And I kept talking about it on camera because I was there only with my producer, who was sitting next to the camera. And they actually used a lot of that footage, because I thought they would edit it out and it wouldn't be about being mother and fear at all. But that was the real life story of it. And then we did the race. It was fantastic. It was Damon Hill. My friend was starting just before me. So I overtook him. Sorry, Damon. After about 40 seconds, because you start every 10 seconds.
Because he's quite tall, isn't he?
Yeah, and he's a good skier.
Yeah.
Good skier. And I got to go early on in the day and race down. There was this underneath the rocks before you go onto the steepest part of the course. I lost my GoPro on the front of my ski and I saw it roll out. So I had to stop in the middle of the race, because I was being a TV presenter, let go of the egotistical ski racer who just wants to be fast, and wind it back on. And then I kept going. Anyway, I came second by 0.8 of a second.
Wow, well
after
done.
9 minutes of skiing.
Amazing.
It was great, but then I was also really frustrated that obviously without picking up my GoPro, I would have won.
You'd have been there.
But then someone told me people on telly, when they're doing an event, should never win. You should never win. You should always
really?
Yeah.
So it's not good etiquette.
No, it's not good etiquette. Yeah.
Well done anyway. It's amazing. Yeah.
It was really fun, but I'm struggling because I'd love to do it again.
We should come and do the Macmillan with the DHO.
But I've got Ski Sunday filming now in the kind of brunt of the season.
You never know. It might sort of coordinate.
Yeah, that would be great.